iconic American brand. They've been around for well over 100 years. I featured them on this channel. You may remember the Blue Falcon, a bike that I just did, built in 1957. This one, however, was built much sooner than that. This was probably built within the last 5 to 10 years. Unfortunately, Schwinn has gone the route of most American bicycle brands in that they've been chopped up, sold off multiple times to venture capital groups, holding companies, you name it. And the priority has become not so much making bikes, but making money. So unfortunately, there's corners cut everywhere and the bikes just aren't that good anymore. They were recently acquired by Pawn Holdings, a company that owns countless bicycle brands that you've probably heard of. I'll try and put the logos for some of them up in this video. But they were recently acquired by them in 2021. We'll see if maybe they turn them around, maybe they start making quality bikes again. This bike, however, is an example of when they almost got it right in modern times. They almost made a good cruiser. The bones here are good. There was just a couple of bean counter decisions that ruined the whole package. So what we're going to do today is we're going to correct those mistakes and we're going to make a good modern Schwinn cruiser. Now before we get started, let's take a look at what they did right before we look at what they did wrong. This is a very good looking bike. It has a very good looking paint job on it. It's got some neat graphics. The wheels match the graphic colors. It's a very nice thick paint on these wheels. So I mean, it does look very good. It's got a really nice heavy-duty rack that's actually built into the frame. It's actually welded to the frame, so this will take quite a bit of weight. It has a very comfortable seat with some nice stitching on it. It's a very good-looking seat. It's got some nice wide tires that will soak up quite a bit for bumps. It has very nice metal brake levers with metal adjusters, so these can be adjusted, and these will actually help us tune this bike to something that will stop correctly. Speaking of which, it's also got some rather decent V-brakes on it. These are light years better than the stamped calipers that you normally would see on a cheap bike like this. Those stamped calipers, you can't really do much with them. They just always feel like sloppy garbage. Whereas these V-brakes come on higher end bikes and they can be adjusted to be very good brakes. So these are a welcome addition. It does have a one-piece bottom bracket, which I would rather see a three-piece bottom bracket on this, but given this bike's intended use, I think a one-piece bottom bracket is perfectly fine. A bike like this will rarely see more than 9 miles an hour, and you're not really too concerned about how efficient your power transfer is. This isn't the kind of bike you'd be racing on. It's more the kind of bike that you would just be leisurely going wherever you want to go and just kind of taking your time and putzing around. It's a great bike for that, and that's why it leans more into comfort than anything else. So now let's get into the few bean counter decisions that completely ruined this bike, because there's not a lot of them. It's basically 2 decisions, maybe 3, depending on how you count it, that completely ruined this entire package. The first one being, this has the worst twist grip shifter I think I've ever seen. I don't like twist grip shifters. This one in particular is a complete and total pile of crap. It is the worst one I've ever seen. It's horrendous. But what it's attached to is probably even worse. It's attached to the ever-famous Shimano flat-face derailleur. The worst derailleur ever to exist, bar none. There is nothing worse than this derailleur. They're stamped out for like 87 cents in China somewhere. It's the worst thing ever. They need to never be fitted to another bike ever. If you notice, the chain is all wrapped up around on this bike. I'm about 90% sure that derailleur is the reason this bike was taken off the road and thrown in a barn and forgotten about. Because these things, because of the extreme amount of play in them, they don't hold shifts. I can't tell you how many of these things I've seen wrapped up around the cassette just because, well, in this case, a freewheel, just because they're just terrible derailleurs. They're made out of the cheapest, crappiest pot metal. I can't say enough bad about them. They need to not exist ever. The other gripe I have about this is rather minor, and that's just that it has a cheap, crappy kickstand, which we can fix that easy enough. I've got a million kickstands in a bucket over in my parts bin, so we'll just swap that out, and that should do it. It does have really cheap cables too, which we'll be replacing. These are some really shitty cables. I think I'm going to put some white cables on this because I think it'll look better with white. And I think that's going to be about it. But yeah, Schwinn got that close to making a decent beach cruiser. All they had to do, literally all they had to do, was put a better shifter and a better derailleur, and they would have had something halfway decent here. And the part that really stings is, I know for a fact, the cost of putting a decent trigger shifter and a decent derailleur on this bike at the level of buying stuff that this company is doing is like $30. So if this bike was, say, 170 bucks, they could have, with margin on those parts, charged about $225 and made a decent bike. And I think this would have been a pretty compelling package at that price point. For 225 bucks, if you had a bike that shifted properly and then did all of the things that a proper beach cruiser does, which is just be comfortable, it would have been a pretty compelling package. But instead they went the cheapo route, and countless versions of these now end up wrapping their chain around their freewheel and end up shoved in a barn or a shed or thrown out, which is really sad because it could have been a good bike. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this one a really good bike, and we're going to get started right now. So while I was shooting B-roll for this, I found that there's actually a sticker down here that tells the exact name of this model. It is a Schwinn Fairhaven. I did some looking, and this is actually on the Walmart website. It's not sold anymore. It looks like they're out of stock, but it looks like it used to sell for 150 bucks. So I was pretty close on my price estimate there. But that makes it even more infuriating, because that means with the proper drivetrain, they could have made this bike and sold it for a decent profit for less than 200 bucks. Probably $199, and these would have been selling like hotcakes, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, who knows. I did also notice that there is a shim where the handlebars are attached to the stem. So we may be putting a new stem on this as well. In fact, I think I might do that anyway, just because this one looks kind of cheap and crappy. If I have an aluminum one, or a nicer looking one, I think I'm going to put a new stem on this thing. Maybe an adjustable one if I have an adjustable stem that will work with these handlebars. I think that'd be a good addition to this thing. Actually, I'm not going to tear much off of this at all because it doesn't really need a lot. It really needs, more than anything, a good cleaning and a handful of components fixed. That's about it. I'm going to put new cables on it, white cable housings, because I think they're going to look a little bit better. We've got some comfort grips, but most importantly, we have a trigger shifter and a new derailleur. I've got an Altus derailleur for this thing. So that's what we're going to do to get everything shifting correctly. All of these parts together did not cost that much. It was less than 50 bucks to get this thing swapped over, and that's paying retail for these parts. So it's really not going to be that big of a deal to get this thing fired up and rolling. So I'm going to get on it. So unfortunately, one of the biggest challenges I might have is going to be finding a derailer hanger that will actually work with this. These look like a normal dropout for something more typical from the past, so I might be able to find something off of an older bike that'll work, but I don't know if it's going to have enough length. I do have a derailleur extender I might be able to use, but I might have to just come up with something that'll work for this. This is a very old style dropout. Well, this might prove more challenging than I thought. But man, just look at the movement on this thing. And this whole housing is plastic. What a piece of junk. All right, let's get this thing off of here and see what I can find to replace the hanger. This is a built-in thing. I can probably save that adjuster. Like, even the jockey wheels on this are just complete trash. They don't even have bearings. They're just plastic on plastic. There isn't even like a bushing in there. Oh, what a piece of junk. So unfortunately, this is like almost new, and it's gonna go straight in the trash because there's nothing I can do with it. Well, not the trash. It'll go in the recycling bin because it's mostly metal, but I'm gonna save this part too because I might need that. All right, we're going to save these 3 pieces. The rest of this goes in the recycling bin. Well, I found a derailleur hanger off of an old bike that I believe I can make work. the real question here is going to be, is it far enough away from the axle that the derailleur is going to have enough swing to be able to do what it needs to do? Because that other one on the garbage derailleur, if you remember right, this one hung way far down, a lot further. If you look, this pivot point is a lot further down. So I don't know if that's going to be enough room to make it work, or if I'll need an extender on there, or maybe a different derailleur hanger altogether. Maybe I might have to make one. I'm not sure. But as of right now, that's kind of what I'm thinking we're going to try. So I'm going to put the Altus derailleur on here, and then we'll put the back wheel back on, and we'll just kind of see how it looks and see if I think it'll shift correctly. Just looking at it, I'm skeptical, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Those stamped flat face derailleurs aren't really made for any specific application, so they may have just put something on this that was way longer than it needed to be, or something like that. You never really know until you start trying to make this stuff fit. That looks pretty good. Actually, it looks like this is off the original shipping. It's off the original packaging. All right, so let's go get the back wheel, see if we can make this function. Okay, well, first thing I can see is this hanger is bent, so I can get that fixed. But in current configuration, it does not have enough to go into high gear. We should be able to fix that easy enough because the screws are all the way down. So then we'll get a better Phillips. Let's have these all the way out. If this is far enough over, it hits the spokes. So how are we going to get around that? The other thing being, this isn't straight. It needs to be bent that way a bit. So I'm not sure if this just isn't going on there quite right, or if we've got other problems. But it does look promising. These are problems that we can overcome. All right, first let's put this wheel on as straight as we can get it. Yep, it is very, very bent, as I kind of thought it was. So we're going to do one of these to it. And that thing is not offering much resistance to bend it. That's not inspiring. All right, come on. Okay, so that's a little bit better. I could tell as soon as I put this hanger on there, though, and I looked at it with my eye, I could tell it was bent. And now, just by my eye, it doesn't look as bent as it was before. So let's put this back on and see if that helped at all. When you're trying to fit a derailleur to something that it wasn't born with, sometimes you got to get inventive to make everything kind of line up and work. I think that did it. Although, after bending it, I don't have to go nearly as far out. Probably about there is adequate. Now we're not hitting. All right, so we got you lined up. All right, so knock on wood, it looks like we've got enough clearance, and with a straightened derailleur, we should be able to make this thing shift and function. Oh, I keep forgetting these come with cables. That's fantastic. Shimano has good cables, so I keep forgetting that this comes with cables, so it'll have some good cables. Doesn't come with the housings though, but that's fine. We're going to go with white anyway, so we're going to use what they have. This is so much nicer than what was on it. So first we'll tighten this guy down. So we'll go up to about there. Call that good. Okay, after I cut these off, I like to file the ends just to keep the sharp parts off. So you don't fray your cables with the sharp parts. Down to the back we go. Now this shift table looks pretty short to me. I hope it's long enough. Yeah, looks like it is. Hello, it's me from editing. I noticed this section has pretty much unusable audio. It's popping and crackling and I don't know what's going on, but my DJI mic and my GoPro are not communicating correctly. To stop this from happening, I did order the GoPro media kit so I can put a DJI receiver on it. So going forward, the audio of my videos should be a whole lot better. You may have noticed there's cracking and popping in my voice sometimes in my previous videos. I'm gonna get that all fixed starting next week when everything arrives. So in this section, I basically just explained that the derailleur, the free hub, and the shifter are all talking together and working correctly, that this is a viable conversion that anybody can do. I show how to align the derailleur for the first shift so that everything goes good up the rest of them, and then I adjust the tension a little bit so that it shifts correctly. After that, I basically just explained that I'm going to lock everything into place, double check it a couple more times that it's shifting right, and then add the brake cables and get it set up for the road so that I can then go for a test ride. Just got back from the first test ride and yeah, it shifts and rides like a dream. It rides really nice. Actually, it was super comfortable. I almost kind of want one of these for me now. So I was really kind of impressed with it. The one major downfall that it still has, and we can correct it easy enough, is this stem. Even cranked all the way down, I can see why there's this Mountain Dew can shim in there, because this stem is absolute junk. We're gonna have to get rid of it. I think it looks like crap too, so I'm gonna go ahead and find another one in my pile of parts and try and get that replaced. And show you what I'm talking about here. There's a Mountain Dew can in there. I've got this cranked down about as tight as it'll actually go, and it's still not, like I can still move these if I'm, well, not on the stand, but if I'm on flat ground, these still move up and down when I try and shift. If I pull this lever off, I should be able to swap those handlebars out easy enough. I've got quite a bit of stretch in the cables, so I should be able to get those off just fine. So after searching around my parts bin, I found this stem that I think will work pretty well. It's a little shorter, but it extends the bars out a little bit further, which I think it needs after riding it. The bars were like back here when I was riding it. Maybe I'm a bit of a long-armed ape trying to ride this. That obviously was meant for somebody shorter, but I'm going to use this stem because I think it's going to look a whole lot better, and it's a higher quality item. No! Damn! All right, I think I found a stem that'll work, but I'm gonna have to polish it out first. Unfortunately, most of the other stems that I have are all road bike stems, so most of them would come up and then go down, and they would just look goofy. This one comes up and goes up. I don't remember what this came off of, but it does seem to fit the bike rather well. I really actually kind of like how that looks. That looks really nice. But to make it super nice, I have to go on the buffing wheel and polish this thing out. Hopefully it takes a polish well. If it does, it's going to look absolutely fabulous. If it doesn't, well, it's still going to look fabulous. It's just going to take me a lot longer to make it look right. this upgrade. I just got finished polishing this up. This is the original crappy welding. Piece of a Mountain Dew can shim in there. Look at that upgrade. That is going to be fantastic. I'm really excited about that because that's going to take this from being just some gross thing that you just kind of try to look past to like the showpiece on the front of the bike. That's going to like make everything pop out and look good. It's a really high quality piece. I'm glad I saved that one too. So let's get those handlebars back in. We'll get them all hooked up and then I can get to cleaning the rest of this. Get on there. Now doing some cleaning, I found that it's a lot of scratches or paint transfer or something on this bottom leg, and it looks terrible, like you can see. But if you put your finger over it, these aren't like scratched through the paint. This is like a paint transfer from rubbing up against something. For spots like this, for spots like this, just regular rubbing compound really will help get rid of a lot of that. I should be able to just erase these with a little bit of rubbing compound. You can see them starting to come off there. And look at that. Like new. So I'm going to go through and find a bunch more spots like that. There's quite a few. There are some nicks and spots though where the paint did come off. So after a quick once over, it's starting to come out. I think I just need to go through and finish buffing the rest of it and then polish up the brakes. I think we're going to have a pretty good bike to go here, which this bike is actually a present for my wife, which is why I need to take extra care that it's perfect. She likes this swoopy style, so I thought this one would be a good one for her. It's going to be a good running town kind of bike. The last little thing I see that really needs to be touched up are these Fender Struts. They were chrome plated, but it's not a very deep chrome plate. So they're starting to get rusty from about there to there, at least on the front. The back one doesn't look too bad, but I'll probably hit it again. For stuff like this, what I've found that works fantastic is just a little bit of WD-40 and some steel wool will work miracles on rusty stuff like that. I mean, just look at the, I don't know if you can see, I don't know if that's even coming through on the camera, but it's like a night and day difference already. Oh, that strut's really rusty. We got her back around. So I already cleaned and polished the chain guard, so it should be ready to go back on. I don't think, knock on wood, that this chain is gonna have to come off again. It will probably cry if it does, but you won't see that because I'll edit out me crying because the chain has to go back on. Gotta get the back brakes fixed. They're not quite grippy enough, and I forgot the noodle, or I forgot the rubber thing for the noodle. That thing, I forgot that thing for the noodle. That's the noodle. That's that thing. Something I always wonder is why are these called V-brakes? Should cantilever brakes be called V-brakes? They have a V in the cable. It should be like straight lowercase L brakes. That's just too much to say. That's pretty good right there. All right, let's get this locked down. A little bit more shine on them. Everything needs more shine. All right, I got to bring you in here because, yeah, it looks fantastic. Look how much nicer that looks than before. All nice and shiny. I'm going to get it locked down now. All right, famous last words, but I think we're safe to put our grips on here. So we're going to do a little bit of the simple green trick. I'm just trying to mush these on. How do these go? They go this way, right? Yeah, that way. That's more like it. Nice and easy. Let's make sure these are even. That's good about there. We will wipe off the excess simple green. All right, I absolutely hate this style of kickstand. It never really worked properly. I'm hoping crossing my fingers, so to speak, if I actually can swap this out. I'm not 100% sure I can. I don't know if the other one will fit in here, but they're similar. So I'm thinking maybe this one. It's a similar length. I think that's going to be our winner if it'll go in there. I'm going to go wire wheel it real quick, put a little shine back on it. And that easy, we have a good kickstand. That makes the whole thing so much nicer. Those small details are what make a bike nice. Having to fight with something like this every time you get off your bike just ruins the experience. It makes you not want to ride the bike. This thing's just gritty and rough, and it's just a stamped steel piece of junk. So something like that, I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but just how easy it is to use just makes the whole experience of riding the bike better. The thing that makes a bike good rather than just tolerable are all those little details. It's things like trigger shifters instead of twist shifters. It's having a derailleur that will actually hold the gears and change gears correctly every time. It's having good brakes that will hold a tune and will hold the tension. It's having cables that will have a nice smooth actuation. All of those little things go together to take a bike from tolerable possible transportation, or as I've heard bike farmers say, a bicycle-shaped rideable object, into something that you actually enjoy riding. All of those little things go together. And in some rare instances, you can take a relatively cheap, cost-effective bike that wasn't made properly to begin with, and you could turn it into a decent bike. And I think we've done a pretty good job of doing that. Well, I think our mission was successful. We were able to fix what the bean counters broke. We were able to put a new, better drivetrain on this thing. We were able to put new, better shifter. We got a better kickstand. We've got better cables and cable housings. Brakes are fixed. We got a new stem. Paint's all polished up. This bike is ready for the road again, and we saved it from the dump while at the same time making it a really, really nice rideable bike. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. So thanks again for watching. Be sure to do the like and subscribe thing, and be sure to tune in next time, because I'm going to build a bike for myself out of nothing but salvaged parts from all the bikes I've had come through my shop over the years. So thanks again, and I will catch you on the next one.